All right, last night around the NHL, we got one team moving on, breaking out the brooms, another team going home after reportedly a long night in a certain establishment. And then you have one team now on the brink of elimination. Let's bring in a couple of our hockey heads here, a couple hockey gurus. So we got Anna Duo, we got Paul Bruno hanging with us here. Last night, guys, Panthers, Lightning, Avs, Blues. Anna, tell me, which was the bigger performance you think in your mind? Was it Nazem Kadri, the hat trick and all the crap he's been dealing with, or how about Andrei Vasilevsky? Because that was a historic performance as well.
For sure. I mean, Kadri, much credit to him. He really came out and proved himself last night, but it's hard to argue against Vasilevsky for the performer of the night. He has been on fire since the end of that first round series against the Maple Leafs, and you saw how dominant he was against the best team in the regular season, sweeping them, getting them eliminated in just 4 games. It seems like the hockey gods were trying to give Florida a chance with all of those overturned goals, but Vasilevsky just could not be beat.
All right, Paul, 6-time Vasilevsky has shut out an opponent in a series-clinching win. That's the most in NHL history, man.
The guy's been incredible, but people are forgetting, too, that they're playing without Braden Point. That's like one of their top forwards up front missing. Yep. So I give a lot of credit to a guy like Nikita Kucherov, too, who's raised his game. He wasn't much of a factor in the opening round that I watched him play, but he's really turned it up a notch, and I think you can say that for the core of the Tampa club, with the exception of Hedman. He also is a guy who carried the mail in the first round. But the rest of the guys seem to have raised their game, and the champs are looking like they're not ready to give up the title anytime soon. And then in the other game, you got Nazem Kadri playing the role of the villain. Like I'm thinking back to when I was a little kid, watching superhero shows and watching the villain star in every second episode, and he's playing that role to the hilt right now. And that's given his club a commanding lead in this series.
Yeah, Anna, you giving the Blues any chance here to fight back in this series?
You know, I wouldn't discount them just yet. There was a point in that game where they got within 1 after Colorado had a pretty dominant lead to start off the game. And, you know, the Blues performed really well towards the end of that first round against the Minnesota Wild, a team that in some ways does play similarly to the Colorado Avalanche. So there are some players like David Perron, Ryan O'Reilly, who have shown up in this series. So I wouldn't count them out just yet, but they have an uphill battle to climb for sure.
Yeah, you could get them to win the series right now, plus 1,500 on the DK Sportsbook. Avs heavy favorite, minus 3,000 there to close it out in the next game. Let's go to tonight. Favorite play at the center position, Anna. Who you got?
So I'm going a little deeper in the lineup, and I'm taking a look at Jordan Staal of the Carolina Hurricanes. He had an assist in that Game 3 against New York. And, you know, the biggest roadblock for the Hurricanes this postseason has simply just been playing away games. They're 0-4 on the road, but Staal did have that multi-point game against Boston, 1 goal, 1 assist in Game 4 in Boston in the first round. So if he has a similar performance like that, that'll be critical so that they don't head back to Carolina with the series tied.
All right, where are you going here, Paul? We got a couple Game 4s. Hurricanes, Rangers, Flames, Oilers, baby.
I don't know how you can say no to Connor McDavid. With 23 points in his last 10 games and 40 shots on goal, that shot rate has risen dramatically, actually. Looks like somebody told him he's lost the Hart Trophy because he's not the best player in the league, and he's using that as motivation. He's going to be well worth the price, no matter what it is in BK play, I think. But I don't discount the Calgary Flames trying to make this a series still. They got roughed up in the last couple of games offensively. They'll make amends for those last 2 poor performances in this series and with a bounce back effort tonight. So I'm going to look over there to their first line center, Elias Lindholm, and the Flames top line to answer big time tonight. And the cost to getting a guy like Lindholm is only $6,400. Looking at the other game, I also like the Rangers to square this thing at home. Mika Zibanejad's been playing inspired hockey for them. He got 2 points in the last game. I look for another similar effort. He only cost $6,800, largely because the consensus among observers like us is that the low-scoring nature of this series is going to continue. But I think he's going to do enough to merit that price tag.
Yeah, Paul, $3,000 less than Connor McDavid. That's where Zibanejad is sitting right now. Which wingers are worth rostering tonight, you think, dude?
Well, it's worth noting that Leon Draisaitl's listed as a winger tonight, not as a center, so that's a key difference. And his price tag is $7,500. If you believe that the Edmonton offense is going to go through the same two-headed monster as always, that's a good price tag. But I like Evander Kane if you're going to go Edmonton. He got a hat trick in the last game. He's leading all goal scorers in the playoffs, still only priced at $6,300. That's where I would go if I'm taking the Edmonton team. But I said, look for Calgary to tie this up. So I'm going to go to the other side of the ice. Matthew Tkachuk leading the Flames offense in the playoffs. He's got price tag of $6,500. Calgary strayed from their physical checking style of game, trying to go run and gun with the Oilers. I think they'll revert to their bread and butter, and he'll be front and center. If you want to save money here on the wing, though, Artemi Panarin is a perennial point-per-game player that nobody talks about much about, like some of the other big boys in these playoffs. Costs only $5,800 for the Rangers tonight. Well, you got to go back to Edmonton and take a look at some of the cheapies that they have on the wings. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and Zach Hyman both at $4,500, despite the fact that I've noticed them every game in these playoffs.
And a 5 wingers that'll cost you at least $6,000.
For sure. And, Paul's said enough wingers to give people a bunch of different options, but I think I'm going to hit one of the ones he didn't talk about. He talked about his line mate in Mika Zibanejad. What about Chris Kreider? So he scored a goal. He had 4 shots on goal in that game 3. 50-goal season in this past regular season. He's going to be a huge part of New York's effort to even out this series before they head to Carolina. Zibanejad playing well. He's on the same line as him. So I would take a solid look at Chris Kreider or Panarin, as Paul mentioned. Panarin's another good option. And then you can't really go wrong with anyone in the Edmonton top 6 right now either.
And how about a blue liner you think you need in your lineup?
So to save Calgary series, I'm actually taking a look at their blue line. I'm going Rasmus Andersson. He had a 3-point game in the first game of this series against Edmonton. He's really going to need to show up to stop this super power Edmonton offense that just dominated in game 3. And, he had a career high season, hitting 50 points for the first time in his career this regular season, playing with Noah Hannafin, who hasn't shown up as much as he would have liked to in these playoffs, but also he came off of a career high season as well with 48 points in the regular season. So I expect the Calgary blue line to show up.
Okay, what do you want here back on the blue line, Paul?
I like the look of the Calgary blue line in this one. I'd go with Noah Hannafin as my strongest consideration. He's got a heavy workload at both ends of the ice, blocking a ton of shots that enhances his DK scorebook on a nightly basis, costing $5,100. But look at Edmonton. That offense is flying through the power play, and right now, Tyson Barrie is the guy that's the linchpin back there, coming in at only $3,700. That looks like a steal if you think the Oilers' offense is going to go through that power play again. And over in the other game, can't overlook Jacob Trouba. He's been a tremendous value most nights because, again, he is a guy who was one of the shot block leaders in the playoffs, got 20 in the last 10 games to go along with the power play minutes. And the fact that he's up around 25 minutes a game, I think he's going to be a factor in any offense the Rangers generate this evening for $4,800, a very favorable price tag.
And Anna, I saw you tweeting this morning, too, just how strong Mike Smith has been at home this postseason. A couple shutouts there, nearly, 9.48 save percentage?
9.48 save percentage. He's been awesome at home. Had 2 shutouts against the Kings at home. He's just been dominating when he's on home ice, almost at the .950 mark. So you can't discount the factor that Mike Smith has played into this series. And Calgary's really going to have to put in some effort to throw him off his game right now.
And Paul, 40 years young, man.
I know he's really turned back the clock, and I just can't see him holding off the Calgary offense tonight. I think we're going to see a long series here, and so I'm taking a look at a Calgary stack this evening.